Hi, this is Sarah Jane and you're watching the Bluebears Productions. Our world around us is in constant change because of global warming. Global warming is the trapping of carbon dioxide, CO2, and other air pollutants such as CFCs, methane, nitrous oxide, and many others in the atmosphere that makes the Earth warmer. Global warming causes many issues, including melting glaciers. Melting glaciers are having many effects on our world. To dig deeper into the causes and effects on global warming, we have some special guests with us today. First, we have Andrew Nguyen, who is an expert on global warming and its effect on glaciers.
Hi Sarah. Global warming in our world indeed is a huge problem. When sunlight comes from the sun and reaches the earth, heat is absorbed, but some of that heat also returns back to space. Heat is trapped in the atmosphere by the greenhouse gases, so an accumulation of the greenhouse gases can cause more heat to be trapped in the atmosphere, therefore leading to rising temperatures. How are greenhouse gases accumulating, you might ask? Well, the greenhouse gases in the atmosphere are created by many things. There are two major impacts that cause global warming: deforestation and burning fossil fuels. According to the World Wildlife Fund, 18.7 million acres of forest are lost per year.
Wow, thank you for the interesting information. Now we're going to hear from Zach Aaron, who is in the Arctic.
Global temperature in the past 100 years has been rising at an alarming rate, and it will have consequences that people will not be prepared for. Humans are the reason that there's a lot of greenhouse gases in the atmosphere. The gases trap heat that ends up warming the Earth. Atmospheric carbon dioxide is at a new high, and it is continuing to rise. According to NASA, the Earth has gone through 7 phases of warming and cooling in the past 650,000 years, but the current one is the most important one because this one seems to be the cause of human activity and not the Earth's orbit as it was previously. The increased levels of carbon dioxide show the nature of how greenhouse gases conduct their work and the detrimental heating it has done to Earth.
Thank you for the insight. Global warming is in many ways changing our world. Its changes are affecting species on Earth because of the changing environment. Today with us, we have Adrian, the polar bear from Antarctica.
Hello Sarah, thanks for having me. As said by Zach and Andrew, global warming is one of the biggest worldwide problems that are happening right now. Due to the rise of temperature, a lot of Earth's nature is changing and being destroyed. One example is my home, the Arctic glaciers. Every year, the glaciers reach new melting levels, which mean that every year more and more of my home is being destroyed. Consequently, all of my polar bear family members are being isolated on small islands, so they can no longer have shelter and have to move from ice cap to ice cap until they find a decent sized one to stay on for a day or two. Life now is really tiring.
So what do you think will happen in the future?
Well, I don't want to be pessimistic, but polar bears are dying because they cannot find food anywhere. Because of global warming is having all the fish migrating faster than their normal migrating speed. Furthermore, the biggest part of polar bears' diet are the seals, and due to the ice melting everywhere, seals are no longer going up on the surface to rest on the ice, which is the only way my species could be able to capture and eat them. Global warming is leaving our waters and our stomachs empty. Also, due to all this melting ice, Antarctica is reaching record scores of polar bears dying. So, without any polar bears left, polar bear reproduction has slowed down, and without reproduction, the extinction of my kind is nearing quickly. According to the San Diego Zoo, the polar bears are now having to swim longer distances, as much as a few hundred miles, which takes a toll on their energy and fat storage. Our population of polar bears has decreased so much that there are only 4 polar bears for every 1,000 square miles, and if global warming does not stop or slow down, all of the ice caps will be gone by 2100, and with it, the death of me and all of my other polar bears.
Thank you, Adrian, for the inside story of polar bears. Back again to Zach, who is now going to talk about the impact on glaciers.
Temperatures are rising and ice is melting, which creates a bad combination for the overall safety of the organisms that inhabit Earth. In 1910, President Taft created Glacier National Park, and it held over 150 massive glaciers. Now there are fewer than 30 glaciers. National Geographic reports that those 30 glaciers are almost all 2/3 of the original size. It is predicted that in another 30 years there will no longer be any glaciers there. While these beautiful feats of nature will no longer be seen, there is a major problem. The rising levels of water from where all the ice melted will cause lots of floods. Glaciers all over the world are melting, which will cause the sea levels to rise. It is suspected that parts of Florida will be underwater because of water that was once a part of glaciers. This water is called meltwater because it melts off of glaciers. Warm water has been prevalent near glaciers, causing krill, the main source of penguins' food, to migrate to colder waters.
In what other ways are penguins affected?
According to the Earth Island Journal, penguins are forced to travel up to 124 miles offshore and leave the baby penguins alone for over a week while they are looking for food. Before the Earth started to warm, adult penguins would only leave for about a day at a time. Now there's a limited food supply, so they are forced to travel further and leave their babies alone for longer. In many instances, the parents will return home to their babies who are no longer living. On Vetcherby's Island, over 2,000 chicks have died due to the lack of care from parents because they were searching for food.
So the rising temperatures are really affecting glaciers, right?
I agree. The rising temperatures are melting glaciers all around the world. Another example is the European Alps Glacier. Currently, the Alps glaciers are only 50% of their original size from the 1850s, losing more than 30% of their surface area. The Helheim Glacier in Greenland is also melting at a fast rate, with its glacier front moving back 110 feet a day from 2000 to 2005. Mount Kilimanjaro in Africa has lost more than 80% of its ice, and Mount Kenya has almost no more ice left. This is a huge issue for the nearby cities that depend on the mountains as a source of water. These are just 4 examples of the many glaciers melting around the world right now.
Thank you for the data. This will conclude our episode. Today we learned how humans impact the global warming in 2 serious ways, causing serious problems. From fossil fuels to deforestation, human impact leads to climate change, which disrupts the habitat for various species, especially polar bears and penguins that we talked about earlier. Humans have influenced almost all global warming. Thank you for watching our episode of Causes and Effects on Global Warming.